My grandmother made every family event about herself, and her husband was inappropriate with young girls. When we didn't invite them to our wedding, my mom disowned me. I need to get this off my chest because the situation has been eating at me for weeks now. My fiancée Emma, 23F, and I, 24M, are planning our wedding for next year, and we made the decision to not invite her grandmother Martha, 82F, and her husband Tom, 84M. This has caused a massive explosion in the family, with my future mother-in-law Sarah, 45F, and her sisters Amy and Rachel, 43F, 41F, leading the charge against us. For some background, Emma and I met during our sophomore year of college. We were in the same study group for our economics class, and things just clicked between us. We dated for 3 years before getting engaged last year, and throughout our relationship, I've watched the strange dynamic between Emma and her family, especially regarding her grandmother Martha. When I first met Martha at a family dinner 2 months into dating Emma, something felt off. She spent the entire evening talking about herself and how she single-handedly raised her 3 daughters after their father died. Every time Emma tried to tell her family about our relationship or her achievements at college, Martha would somehow turn the conversation back to herself or start crying about how lonely she was. Tom sat there the whole time, staring inappropriately at Emma and her female cousins, making everyone uncomfortable. Over the years, I witnessed numerous incidents that made me understand why Emma was always anxious around her grandparents. At Emma's college graduation, Martha showed up in a bright red dress when everyone was specifically told to wear neutral colors for the family photos. She then threw a tantrum when the photographer tried to arrange people without putting her in the center. Tom used the photo session as an opportunity to get handsy with Emma's friends, claiming he was just being friendly and grandfatherly. The real breaking point came at Emma's cousin Jenny's wedding last year. Martha arrived wearing a cream-colored dress that looked suspiciously bridal and tried to insert herself into the wedding party during the ceremony. She even attempted to give a surprise speech during the reception, which turned into a 20-minute monologue about her own marriage to Tom. Meanwhile, Tom spent the evening making inappropriate comments to the teenage daughters of family friends and trying to dance with them. Several parents complained, but Sarah and her sisters brushed it off as old people being old people. When we started planning our wedding, Emma was clear that she didn't want to invite them. She shared stories from her teenage years that she had never told anyone else. Apparently, Tom had a habit of cornering her at family events, trying to hug her or kiss her cheek while his hands wandered. When she was 16, he tried to follow her to the bathroom at a family reunion, claiming he was worried about her safety. Martha witnessed many of these incidents but would either ignore them or tell Emma to stop being dramatic. The current drama started when Sarah discovered they weren't on the guest list. She showed up at our house on a Sunday morning, hysterical and demanding explanations. When Emma tried to explain her concerns about Tom's behavior, Sarah accused her of making up stories for attention. She brought up how Martha had worked 3 jobs to put her and her sisters through college, how she hosted every holiday at her house, and how she was always there for the family in times of need. Amy and Rachel joined the attack soon after. They've been calling and texting nonstop, telling Emma she's being ungrateful and selfish. They keep bringing up how Martha might not have many years left and how she'll be devastated if she can't attend her granddaughter's wedding. They're conveniently ignoring the fact that Martha has a history of making every family event about herself, and Tom has made multiple female family members uncomfortable with his behavior. The situation got even more complicated when Emma's younger sister Kate, 19F, confided in us. She revealed that she also feels unsafe around Tom and has been avoiding family gatherings where he might be present. She told us about an incident last Christmas where Tom cornered her in the kitchen and tried to kiss her under the mistletoe. When she pushed him away and told Martha, she was told to stop making a fuss and respect her elders. Several of Emma's cousins have reached out privately to support our decision. They've shared their own uncomfortable experiences with Martha and Tom, but most are afraid to speak up publicly because of the influence Martha has over the family. She's known for spreading rumors about family members who cross her and turning others against them. Sarah, Amy, and Rachel are now threatening to boycott the wedding if we don't invite Martha and Tom. They're telling relatives that I'm a controlling influence who's poisoning Emma against her family. They claim Emma was never like this before she met me and that I'm forcing her to cut ties with her loving grandparents. The constant pressure and emotional manipulation are taking a toll on Emma. She's having trouble sleeping and is stressed about the whole situation. But she's standing firm in her decision because she wants to feel safe and happy on her wedding day. She shouldn't have to worry about Martha causing drama or Tom making inappropriate advances toward our younger guests. I suggested we could just elope to avoid all this drama, but Emma really wants a proper wedding with our friends and supportive family members present. We're not backing down, but the daily barrage of guilt-tripping messages and crying phone calls is exhausting. Some relatives have stopped speaking to us entirely, while others are pressuring us to keep the peace and respect family traditions. Are we wrong for standing our ground on this? Should we just give in to keep the family peace? I hate seeing Emma stressed like this, but I also don't want her to have to compromise her safety and comfort on what should be one of the happiest days of her life. Edit. Just to add some context, Martha has a history of showing up uninvited to family events even when explicitly told not to come. At Emma's high school graduation party, she arrived 2 hours early and rearranged all the decorations before anyone could stop her. We're worried she might try to crash the wedding even if we don't invite her, so we're already looking into hiring security. Update 1. It's been 3 weeks since my original post and everything has gotten much worse than we could have imagined. I need to share what happened at our engagement party last weekend because the situation has completely exploded. We planned the engagement party at Emma's favorite restaurant, renting out their private event space. We were careful not to post any details on social media and only invited people we trusted. Emma was finally starting to relax and look forward to celebrating with our friends and supportive family members. The party started wonderfully. Emma looked beautiful and happy for the first time in weeks. She was in the middle of giving a heartfelt speech, thanking everyone for their support, when Martha burst through the door with Tom and Sarah trailing behind her. Apparently, Sarah had told them about the party, thinking we were being childish by excluding them and that seeing them would change our minds. Martha immediately started her performance. She collapsed into a chair, sobbing loudly about how her only granddaughter was breaking her heart. She wailed about how she had loved Emma since the day she was born and couldn't understand why Emma was being so cruel to her. The whole thing was clearly rehearsed for maximum dramatic effect. While everyone was distracted by Martha's theatrics, Tom started working his way through the crowd. He zeroed in on Emma's 16-year-old cousin Lisa, who was standing near the dessert table. We later found out that he approached her, saying he wanted to dance with his favorite great-niece. When Lisa tried to move away, he grabbed her arm and pulled her closer, saying she reminded him of Emma at that age. Thankfully, Lisa's mother Jane, Emma's cousin, saw what was happening. Jane has always been wary of Tom because of things she witnessed growing up but was usually pressured into staying quiet by the family. This time, she'd had enough. She rushed over and physically put herself between Tom and Lisa, telling him to back off. That's when everything descended into complete chaos. Tom started yelling that he was just being friendly and that young girls these days have dirty minds. Martha jumped up from her performance, suddenly energized, and started screaming that we were all conspiring against her and Tom. She revealed that she'd been telling relatives for weeks that Emma was mentally unstable and that I was isolating her from the family. Sarah, who had been standing back watching everything unfold, finally stepped in, not to help us, but to defend Martha and Tom. She started yelling at Emma in front of all our guests, saying she was embarrassed to have such an ungrateful daughter. Amy and Rachel, who we didn't even know were there, joined in, telling everyone who would listen about how Emma was destroying the family. The final straw came when Tom tried to approach Lisa again, saying he wanted to clear up the misunderstanding. Jane told him to stay away from her daughter, but he kept advancing. That's when Jane called the police. Martha, Sarah, and her sisters started screaming that we were overreacting and traumatizing an elderly man who was just being friendly. Before the police arrived, Sarah delivered the blow that hurt Emma the most. She looked her daughter in the eye and said, "I no longer consider you my daughter. You're dead to me. Martha has been more of a mother to me than I've been to you, and now I see why." They all left together, but not before Martha announced to the entire room that Emma had always been a difficult child who was jealous of her relationship with Sarah. The party was completely ruined. Most guests left quickly, looking uncomfortable and unsure what to say. Emma spent the night crying, questioning everything. She kept asking if we should just give in to keep her family together. It broke my heart to see her blame herself for their behavior. The next few days were a blur of messages and calls. Some guests reached out to support us, saying they were shocked by what they witnessed. Several of Emma's cousins called to share their own stories about Martha and Tom's behavior over the years. It seems the incident with Lisa finally broke the family's silence. What made everything worse was discovering that Sarah, Amy, and Rachel had taken their campaign against Emma to a new level. They started contacting her work colleagues through LinkedIn and Facebook, telling them Emma was unstable and needed an intervention. They even reached out to her boss, saying they were worried about her mental state affecting her work. Thankfully, her boss was understanding and blocked their numbers. We've now hired security for the wedding and sent out new invitations with explicit instructions that uninvited guests will be turned away. We've also had to create a password system with our vendors after learning that Sarah had been calling them, trying to get information about our wedding plans. Emma is still hurting, but she's also angry now. Seeing Tom's behavior with Lisa and Martha's manipulation of the situation has reinforced that we made the right decision. The silver lining in all of this is that Emma's cousins and their families have finally stopped pretending everything is fine. They're standing with us now, sharing their own stories and supporting our decision to keep Martha and Tom away from the wedding. We've blocked Sarah, Amy, and Rachel on everything after their attempts to sabotage Emma's career. Emma says she's done trying to maintain relationships with people who care more about keeping up appearances than protecting their children. We're moving forward with our wedding plans, focusing on celebrating with people who actually care about our happiness and safety. Update 2. It's been 2 months since the engagement party disaster, and I need to share some shocking revelations that have completely changed everything we thought we knew about Emma's family. Last week, Emma's great-aunt Patricia, Martha's sister, 78F, contacted us after hearing about the engagement party incident from one of the cousins. She said she had been carrying a burden for over 40 years and couldn't stay silent anymore after seeing history repeat itself. Patricia came to our house with a worn leather briefcase full of old letters, photographs, and documents. The story she revealed was nothing like the family history Martha had been telling everyone for decades. According to Patricia, Emma's grandfather didn't die young as Martha had claimed. The truth was far more disturbing. He left after discovering Martha's long-term affair with Tom, who was his best friend and business partner at the time. The two of them had been secretly involved for years before he caught them together at their family beach house. But that wasn't even the worst part. The money Martha supposedly earned from working multiple jobs to put her daughters through college? It was actually hush money from Emma's grandfather. Martha had threatened to expose some illegal dealings in his family business unless he agreed to disappear and provide financial support for the girls. He chose to protect his family's reputation and agreed to her terms. Patricia had proof of everything: letters between Martha and Emma's grandfather discussing the arrangement, bank statements showing the regular payments, and even photos of Martha and Tom together dating back to before the supposed death. She had kept everything because she always feared Martha would try to twist the truth someday. When Patricia tried to speak up back then, Martha spread rumors that she was mentally unstable and jealous of her perfect life. Sound familiar? It's the exact same tactic she's using against Emma now. The family gradually distanced themselves from Patricia, believing Martha's lies. She spent the last 40 years watching from the sidelines as Martha built her false narrative of being the sacrificing single mother. We struggled with what to do with this information. Emma was devastated learning that her family's entire history was built on lies. After much discussion, we decided to confront Sarah, Amy, and Rachel with the evidence. We invited them to our house, thinking they deserved to know the truth about their mother. Their reaction was completely unexpected. Instead of being angry at Martha's deception, they turned on Patricia and us. Sarah started screaming that we were trying to destroy their family with ancient history. Amy accused Emma of paying Patricia to make up these lies because she was jealous of their close relationship with Martha. Rachel actually tried to grab the documents to destroy them, claiming they were all forgeries. The confrontation ended with Sarah declaring that we had crossed a line that could never be uncovered. She said they would make sure everyone in the family knew how far Emma was willing to go to hurt her grandmother. They stormed out, but not before Rachel let slip that they had already gotten our wedding details from one of our vendors and shared them with Martha. The aftermath has been intense. We've had to change our wedding venue and date because we found out Martha was planning to show up with a group of relatives to protest the ceremony. Some family members who were previously neutral have now sided with us after seeing the evidence Patricia provided. Others are still defending Martha, saying that even if she lied, she did it to protect her daughters and deserves forgiveness. The extended family is now completely divided. Cousins who had previously only privately supported us are now openly cutting ties with Martha and Tom. Patricia has been welcomed back into the fold by many family members who finally understand why she distanced herself years ago. Emma is struggling to process everything. Finding out that her entire family history is based on lies has made her question everything she thought she knew about her childhood. But she says she also feels validated in her instincts about Martha and Tom. All their manipulative behavior makes more sense now, knowing the truth about their past. We've had to hire all new vendors for the wedding after discovering that Sarah had contacted all of our original ones. It's costing us more money, but Emma's cousins have actually started a group fund to help cover the extra expenses, saying it's the least they can do after years of staying silent about Martha and Tom's behavior. Update 3, it's been 6 months since everything started, and I wanted to share a final update about how things turned out. Our wedding happened last weekend, and despite all the drama leading up to it, it was absolutely perfect. We managed to keep the new venue and date completely secret from Martha, Tom, Sarah, and her sisters. We asked all guests to sign NDAs, our lawyer cousin helped us draft them, and requested that no one post anything on social media until after the honeymoon. The venue had amazing security, and we gave them photos of everyone who might try to crash the wedding. During the ceremony, Emma's cousin Lisa stood in place of Sarah as mother of the bride. It was Lisa's mother Jane who walked Emma down the aisle, which was especially meaningful given how she stood up for her own daughter at our engagement party. The whole day was filled with love and support from people who genuinely cared about our happiness. We later found out that Martha, Tom, Sarah, and her sisters spent our wedding day staging their own protest at our old venue, not realizing we had changed locations. They apparently showed up with signs about ungrateful children and family loyalty, only to find a completely different wedding taking place. The other bride and groom were understandably confused and called security on them. The family drama hasn't stopped though. Sarah found out through distant relatives that Emma's paternal grandparents had left her a significant inheritance in a trust that matures when she turns 25. Now Sarah is threatening to contest it, claiming Emma is mentally unfit to manage her own finances. Our lawyer says her case has no merit, but it shows how desperate they are to maintain control. Martha has been busy spreading new lies. She's now telling everyone that Emma is pregnant, she's not, and that we excluded them from the wedding because we were ashamed of her traditional family values. Some relatives sent us screenshots of Sarah's social media posts where she claims she has evidence that I'm abusive and that Emma needs to be saved from me. It would be laughable if it wasn't so malicious. Tom has apparently started showing up at Emma's cousins' houses uninvited, claiming he wants to reconcile with the family. After he tried to force his way into Jane's house, she got a restraining order against him. Several other family members are now considering doing the same. The best thing to come out of this whole situation is that Emma has found her true family. Her cousins and their families have become incredibly close, having regular dinners and supporting each other in breaking free from the toxic family dynamics they grew up with. They've started calling themselves the truth tellers in their group chat, sharing stories and helping each other heal. We've moved to a new house in a gated community where Martha and her enablers can't show up uninvited. Emma has blocked them on everything and changed her phone number. Her work implemented new security measures after Sarah tried to stage an intervention in the office parking lot. Great Aunt Patricia has become like a grandmother to Emma, sharing stories about her real grandfather and helping her understand her family history. She recently gave Emma a box of old photos and letters from her grandfather, which has helped Emma feel connected to the truth of her family history rather than Martha's lies. Some relatives still pressure us to reconcile, saying we should be the bigger people and forgive them. But we're done with that kind of thinking. We're building our own family legacy now, one based on trust, respect, and protecting each other from harm. Emma says she finally feels free to be herself without constantly managing other people's emotions and drama. Looking back on everything that's happened since my first post, we know we made the right decision. Sometimes keeping toxic people out of your life isn't just about protecting yourself, it's about breaking cycles of manipulation and abuse that have damaged families for generations.